So many of you, I assume, chose XCulture as your client, and then others may just be interested in XCulture's marketing efforts. And so we are asking for your help with promoting this company or organization. But I also thought it would be beneficial if I gave you a more detailed review of how we have been promoting the company so far, the program so far. The idea is that the more you know, the more you can build upon what we're already doing. So instead of reinventing the bicycle, you will be able to take where we stand and do it. And second, by seeing what we do and by seeing our results, hopefully you will have a more holistic picture of our progress. And as a result, you will be able to maybe advise us on our strategy, perhaps spot problems, or maybe point out some areas that can be improved. And so today I'm going to show you some of the information that nobody ever shows. At least I've never had any company or seen any company that would release this information. I will show you all of the ads that we actually used, and I will show you the actual statistics for the ads, the numbers of dollars we spent, the statistics we got in terms of how many people have seen the ads, so the reach, the clicks, and all those statistics. And I will be sharing a lot of screen here, but one thing that I would like to send you a link to is this file here. You will be able to follow it with me, and so I'll put it in the comments so this way you all will be able to see them. And what that is basically a collection of all of them. Just a second, let me put it for all participants. It's a collection of all of the ads that we ever tried on social media with all complete statistics for each of those ads. And I'll be showing that file so you can always play with it on your own, but I will be also showing the file by sharing the screen. Now, just a very, very quick overview of what XCulture Kids is in case we have here students who have not selected us as a client and may not really know what that is. So you all know what XCulture is, right? So you all know what the bigger organization is. And for many years, there has been a lot of demand for allowing XCulture to be available not only to university students who do it as part of their course, but also to non-students. And so we have two distinct groups of non-students. We have professionals, so people who are not students, but they are adults, and they just are not lucky to be in a university that participates in XCulture. And so they also wanted to participate, mainly friends of students who have participated in XCulture. And so they've been always asking, can I do it? Can I do it? And so at some point we said, yes, you can. And then the other group, and that one is more exciting to me personally, is the kids. So again, the initial demand came primarily from professors whose kids participated in XCulture. And they said, whose students participated in XCulture. And they said, can my child participate? 15-year-old, very smart, very active, so he'll do fine or she'll do fine. And I was reluctant to allow the kids to participate in teams with university students. The age difference obviously creates a problem here. But then at some point we thought, why not create a separate program specifically for kids? And so we have been testing it for, now it's the second semester that we have a group of students. Still trying to keep it relatively small so we can test and see how it goes before we go big. But it seems like it's working very well. So we're getting very good feedback from kids. In fact, pretty much all of them or most of them who participated in the first round last semester wanted to participate again. So that tells us that there was probably a high level of satisfaction. And then, as I said, many professors brought their kids. So again, my understanding is that they tried it with the students and they believe in the idea. So the reason I'm so excited about the kids is the market is basically unlimited. And so here there are sort of two important reasons why we are interested in it. We do a lot of research in XCulture, and we know that participation in the project improves all kinds of things for participants. We know that not only they improve their chances of getting a job, getting a scholarship, getting a stipend, getting into a better school for their graduate program, but more importantly, we also know that their cultural intelligence improves. So we measure it before and after, and we know that there is a substantial improvement. The interest in working with people from other cultures improves. the prejudice towards other cultures goes down. And so here we know that real learning is happening, or in fact, yeah, the most important probably result. We have many people who participate multiple times. And so we know the performance when they participate the first time and when they participate the second time. And so when the students participate the second time, we know that they're more likely to be team leaders. They get higher peer evaluations, and their team reports are better evaluated. So they must be learning something, and they do better the second time. Now, when it comes to kids specifically, if we wanted to make an impact on the world, and so here I talked about benefits for the participants, but let's talk about a bigger picture. I mean, we don't want to do something just because, you know, somebody will get a bigger paycheck because of that, or will get a job at a better company. We also want to make a meaningful change in the world. And when we look at the university students, even though a lot of them participate, but there is still a limit to how many of them are in the world who can participate. So this semester we have a little over 5,000 students, and my estimate is that it's a substantial part of all of the students in the world who take international business in English at a university level. We have many schools from the United States. We have quite a few from Europe, and then we have some from Latin America, from Asia. And so we don't really have many non-English speaking countries left. And it seems like pretty much everybody who could potentially participate probably at some point heard of us. And so at least, you know, we've tapped, I'm sure there is a growth opportunity even more, but we kind of reached a ceiling. So I'm not sure how many more students are available out there who haven't heard about us and who can potentially participate and who have the English instruction. So there is a limit there. But when it comes to kids, we have basically about 1 billion potential participants worldwide. And if we were able to scale it up, if we were able to attract even 1% of this audience, even 0.1%, I mean, I'm talking like a very tiny fraction, it would still be a huge, humongous number. And if really our research is correct, and if really because of the participation in this project, they become more culturally intelligent, more culturally competent, less prejudice, we can literally have an impact on the world. I mean, we can even, I don't know, maybe reduce the chance of the Third World War by, I don't know, 3% or 5%. And if that's the case, I'm happy. I mean, these kids, they probably, at least the ones that we've seen so far, they're not your average kids. They're extremely advanced. And so they probably will become the future, I don't know, presidents, prime ministers, company owners, businessmen. So if we had an impact on enough of them, we can actually have an impact on the entire world. So that's the introduction. Now, let's talk about marketing. Let me share my screen and show you a few things here. All right, so let me show you a few things that we do to attract participants. So here are some of our resources. I'll be talking about all available channels that we have tried so far, and at the same time telling you what worked and what hasn't. So what worked extremely well was basically personal contacts. We have several hundred professors who have participated in XCulture at different times, and a large portion of participants have actually been the kids of the professors. So we have many professors who have the kids of the age that we try to test, and so we are now keeping it wide and testing ages 9 to 17. And so many professors who have kids of that age enroll their own kids. That worked very well. Second, we have this XCulture website where I try to post daily international business tips and information. Like, for example, one of the last posts was inflation for 2018 for some of the countries, and so that's just one of them. This one is tricky. Let me talk a little bit about this social media thing as far as your organic community. So we never paid for participants on XCulture's page. All of this growth is organic. So as you see, we have 173,000 participants as of now. And so the numbers are growing. In fact, I can even show you the insights just to show you how the numbers have been growing. It's kind of an interesting tendency. So for some reason, the process is not linear. When we started, I had for a long time a few hundred, then a few thousand people. And then like for 3 years or so, we would add about 1,000 people every semester. Presumably when the new group of students come, some of them sign up and stay with us. But when I extended over time, and I'm not sure how far back in time it would allow me to go, you will see that the growth has been very nonlinear. So it wouldn't allow me to go back more than 2017, but yes, it was like for a long time, 2,000 or 3,000 or 5, I can't remember the exact number. Then one day or one week rather, all of a sudden, there was a huge popularity, and we had a few posts that had been shown to like 1 million people. And we gained like 40,000 followers almost like over 5 days. And then 2 weeks or 3 weeks later, we got another like 40,000. And that's where it kind of peaked at about 80. And then it was again stable for about a year, adding like 10 people a day maybe. Then boom, there was this jump again, as you see, like another 10,000 or so. And then these jumps, and then about a year ago, right? So February, all of a sudden we went from like 80 to 160 almost. So there were a few like little jumps, but I have no idea how it works. And so now it's been growing. As I said, we had about, if I go look here, let me just reduce the numbers so that it's more manageable. So as you see, we add about, I don't know, 20, 30 people a day. There are some days that we actually lose like -2 people or not -9 on this worst day. And then there are peaks when we add like 300 people a day. And I have no idea why that is. So we had some days when the audience was over 10 million people in a day. So people share, friends see. So I have no idea how this works, but somehow, you know, it grows non-linearly. But anyway, one of the ideas was that we would recruit and advertise through our following. So, I mean, presumably all of these are people who are interested in international business, and presumably they share the cause and like the topic. But the way Facebook works, it's a little tricky. So those of you who tried, I have no idea how they decide who sees what. And I know that there was a time when if you like a page, you automatically see all their posts, but it hasn't been the case for years now. I assume the reason is that we have so many friends now, and we follow so many pages now, that if Facebook were to show us everything, we would just have to sit there all day and still wouldn't be able to see everything. So somehow Facebook decides using an algorithm who sees a post. And so our posts on average, as you see, are shown to, like this one in particular, was shown to 6,800 people. And of those, about 10% engaged, whatever that means. And of those, 10 liked and 7 shared the post. And let me scroll a few more. This one was from Singapore, a story, so shown to 10,000 people, again, about 10% engagement, whatever that means, about 100 likes, 50 shares, and a couple of comments. If I go to insights, just to show you again a few statistics here, we can look at each of the posts, and you can see statistics for each of the posts. And you will see that even though we have over 170,000 followers, most of the posts are shown only to like 5,000, 10,000 people. There was this more popular one was shown to 25,000 people, and then engagement, again, whatever those numbers mean. So, but the challenge is that even though we have hundreds of thousands of followers, hardly any post is shown to more than, as I said, 10, 20, 30,000. So there are some that may get 30. And if I scroll down enough, we will have some posts that will literally have 1 million views. Like, for example, this one, Revolution in Google Maps, I have no idea, but it was shown to almost 200,000 people. So it almost seems like it's more people than we have the followers. And I have no idea how Facebook chooses this. Is this the number of likes? Is it the number of comments? So I tried at some point to figure out and kind of play the system, but eventually I just gave up and just post whatever I think would be useful for our followers. What's a little disappointing, though, that motivational, funny things tend to be more popular. Like, for example, this one, the difference between entrepreneur or the life of entrepreneur. And so it's a bunch of cartoons. And as you see, this one had like almost 200,000 views, and it has like 48,000 likes and shares and whatever, you know, whatever those numbers are. And then occasionally we actually post very useful stuff, like, you know, tips for job interviews, or maybe some interesting statistics, like, for example, the world's biggest importers. I mean, this is interesting stuff. Like, to me, it was very interesting. I didn't know that China imports more than anybody else except for the United States. But who cares about numbers, right? So you get only like 13,000 people have been shown this post. So what I'm trying to say here is that while we thought it would be a good vehicle to promote for promoting the project, given that it's a relatively small audience that Facebook shows it to, it's not going to work very well. So some of them, even as you see, like only 1,000 people have been shown this post. I have no idea why, right? So that's one. I did try also when the post deals, for example, with culture or with international business, to put in the description of the post, like for example, here there's something about Brexit, and sometimes I would add, to learn more about cultures, enroll in XCulture, but that again didn't seem to have worked. People just simply seem to ignore it. So again, I'm not sure if we build our audience in a way that we got people who just like superficial, quick stuff, and are not really interested in deeper thinking and participation, or that's just how people are. Like, I don't read long posts either. Like, I'm following many pages, and if it's something quick and interesting, I look at it. If it's a long video or interview or a long discussion, many pages, I skip it too. So I suppose that's just, not why we go to Facebook. So that's one thing. Second, we did try paid ads on Facebook. So we haven't spent much money, so it's been only a few $100s over the huge period of time. But the beauty of Facebook is that it allows you to, let me show you where that is. So we have the manage ads here. So the beauty of Facebook is that you can place ads on a relatively small budget, and depending on how expensive the audience is, like for example, let's call it rich people from rich countries tend to be more expensive. You have to pay like $2-3 for every 1,000 people that you show this ad to. Whereas if you go to poorer countries, again, whatever that means, you can buy 10,000 shows for $1. So those people apparently are less interesting to the advertisers, so it costs not much to show them. But in any case, for like $10, you can show your ad to tens of thousands of people. And so that allows you to test how the ad performs, how people react to it. So it allows you to understand if this is a good vehicle, if it works or not. And so we have here all kinds of statistics in our dashboard, and I will not bore you with this one. It's like literally hundreds of numbers, and I'll go directly to this number here. And to this file here. So you have this file, and it's a nice summary prepared by our financial marketing officer, Yevhen Frankiv, who's hiding behind his black screen, but we'll say a few words hopefully later. But anyway, here you see all our campaigns. And as you know, when we post the ad on Facebook, it also automatically gets posted on Instagram. And so these numbers are basically combined, although we can separate them. Oh, there is one more thing before we get in social media. They're important so that you understand when you will be developing your strategy. When we started XCulture Kids, I thought that the participants will be coming to us the same way that they come to the university program. I thought that it would be teachers who teach either English or geography or economics or something related to international kind of aspect. And I thought they would enroll their classes, and I thought that they would come with a whole class. Maybe not the entire class will participate, but there would be a teacher and a group of students. And accordingly, I hired about 40 people all around the planet in all major cities, like literally just about capitals of all major countries. And those were primarily former XCulture participants who kind of semi-volunteered, but we did pay them a little bit for their efforts. And so their job was to find a way to promote the program, to recruit kind of kids, teachers, schools in their country. And so the main mode or the main approach was that they would literally go school to school, and they will talk about XCulture. And we tried different models. We talked about XCulture as a project. So basically you do it to gain education, to gain new skills, or as a competition. So your school can compete against other schools. And it didn't work. Like, it didn't work at all. It was a very strange situation. Everybody loved it. So first of all, people didn't even want to hear about it unless they have had 5 minutes of listening to us. So you tell them and they're like, what are you talking about? What is this? I mean, somebody's telling me, you want to sell me a book or an online course? And so you have to get them for about 5 minutes so that they understand what it is, because it's not a course, it's not a book, it's not a class, it's not a, app. So, it's a little bit different. It's a very peculiar project and product. And so you need at least 5 minutes before the person starts understanding what you're talking about. Then the dynamics reverses itself completely. So once they've listened to you for 3-5 minutes and understand what you say, they say, oh, I love it. This is such a great thing. It would be so good for my kids. But then another bummer, but I can't use it. So as a teacher in school, I have a curriculum. I can't just add a project like that. I can't just enroll my kids in this. So even principals of the schools would say, I love it. I thought my kids from my school should participate in it. But we can't really, how? At the university level, professors can simply add it to their course. But at the school level, teachers apparently are not as autonomous, do not have as much freedom as far as the course design. And so while they loved it, they couldn't really use it. And so the only few schools that participated were teachers kind of created an after-school club. So just like you may have like an orchestra or basketball or chess club. So it was the same thing, International Business Club. And so we have a few schools where teachers do it. It actually works very, very well because in this case, it's not limited to a single class. And we don't get slackers who have to participate because the teacher enrolled the whole class. So it's all voluntary. It's only those who want to do it. And it may be, students from different age groups and different classes supervised by a teacher. But it's still relatively small numbers. So we got, I don't know, maybe like 3 or 4 of those in the first semester and have, I think, 3 or 4 this semester. And relatively small groups of students too, it's like 8 students per school or something like that. At the same time, and that's something we didn't really plan on, there was much more interest from parents. In fact, some parents were kind of frustrated. They would say, I love it. I want my kid to participate. I talk to the teacher and they don't know what I'm talking about. So can my kid participate individually? I don't have the time to talk to the school administration and convince them. So can my kid participate individually? And so most of the participants have been actually individual enrollments by parents who just want their kids to have this experience. Second issue that we've been struggling with, again, I should explain before we get in all the stats and recruitment, is money. Very, very complicated issue. Initially, as you know, XCulture for students is free. So we do ask schools to pay for participation if they can. And it's a very small fee. It's $250 per whole university per semester, and only if they can. If they cannot, they can always ask for a partial or complete discount, and we approve those automatically. So as long as the school wants to participate, we will make it, make sure that they can participate. And usually American schools have no problems paying. In fact, in many cases, they say, why is it so little? Like, is it per kid? And we say, no, it's for the whole university. That's strange. So we even thought about maybe increasing the price because sometimes people think that it's not a valuable program, if the fee is so small. But then there are some countries where even $250 is a lot. And then there are some countries where education is free, like all those socialist Europeans. And so for them, it's not that they don't have the money, they just don't understand the concept of paying for education. Like, what do you mean pay for education? So for them, it's more almost like a psychological and political issue. It's not the economics. And then we have some countries where people may have the money, but just transferring the money overseas is a very, very complicated proposition. So they have to get a permit from some central bank, and then, it's not just a matter of just, swiping your credit card. And so obviously for that reason, we have to keep it flexible. So, but when it comes to the kids program, here money becomes a little bit more important and more complicated. One is, and that's an extremely important issue, it's the issue of motivation. XCulture is a team-based project. And if one person is not serious and is not working hard, then the whole team suffers. And for us, we would much rather not have a participant in the program if the participant is not giving it 100%, than have that person in the program even if the person pays. For us, it costs much more to have a slacker than the money they could ever pay. So from this perspective, we want quality no matter what. And so we thought about keeping it free, but the problem here is that if it's free, several problems occur. One, people sort of perceive it as not valuable. In many cases, they almost feel like they give, do us a favor by participating. Oh yeah, let's help those kids. Maybe, maybe enroll somebody here. And we don't want that because, it's a lot of value for the participants. And so we don't want to be in a position where people don't realize it. When you buy products that like, for example, when you buy pens or gasoline or bread, you sort of know what it costs. And so if someone came and gave you, I don't know, a new car for $10, you would be happy because you know a new car costs, let's say, $20,000, and you get it for 10. You don't care what the price is because you know how much it costs or what the value is. But when you have a program like XCulture, you know, something that people don't know, in many cases, the only signal about the quality is the price. Same thing like if you have to deal with lawyers, for example, or accountants. It's not that you buy those kinds of services every day, and so when you start shopping for a lawyer, if you, let's say, get in trouble, in many cases, those who have higher prices per hour, they have more clients because the client doesn't know who is a good lawyer and who is a bad lawyer. You look at those lawyers and, you know, how do you know? And so you see that one charges $100 per hour and the other one charges $500 per hour. So you kind of automatically assume that the one who charges $500 per hour is better. And so in many cases, when prices go up in those unfamiliar product categories, the demand goes up because the consumers assume that it's better value. And so with XCulture, we were afraid to keep it free or extremely cheap because of that, you know, wrong signal. People will think that it's something that is, you know, not valuable. And so we imposed the price not so much to raise revenue, but to essentially, you know, signal as a marketing tool, to signal quality. Second, because motivation is so important, commitment is so important, and this one is not really a marketing issue, although it does have an effect on satisfaction of the clients and thus future enrollments. The idea was that people value what they paid for, and so when the time will come, and it will come, that the student will be tired, busy with other things, and will be considering quitting, if there was a payment made, even if it's a very, very small payment, the person will be less likely to quit. The parents will say, well, you know, but we paid, so you might as well stick around, you know, keep working with your team. Whereas if it's free, people will just drop out and say, I'll do it maybe next semester. And so for us, from the very beginning, I thought it would be a good idea to have a payment, regardless of what that payment is, even if it's a small one. But the idea was that if you impose a payment, you signal quality. If a person is serious about participation, it shouldn't be too hard for them to go and pay a few dollars. So that step of paying, my hope was that it would be a selection tool. So those who are not sure, those who are not fully committed, they will just not pay and therefore kind of drop out before they can cause any problems for the team. And I thought even if we asked them to pay only $1, it would still be a nice selection tool. Everybody can afford it, but at the same time, those who are not interested enough will not participate. And third, when the time comes that they're not sure, maybe they want to drop out, it's too much work, my hope was that when they have paid, they will be less likely to drop out, and as a result, the team will stay intact and the project will work. But the question was, so what should the price be? And so I believe I showed you, and you must have seen it before, if you go to XCulture Academy's page. Again, we were kind of in this situation, you know, like luxury restaurants, you know, they have always this kind of trade-off between trying to raise the price as high up as possible so it looks prestigious and selective, but at the same time allowing the option of eating there for less because it's still profitable to offer the food for less, but you can't drop the price too much because then you will damage the image of value. And so what we did is we set the price at $195 per individual. That's for 3 months, right? And then that's for the group. So if it's a teacher with a group of students, that would be for the group. But then we also added the option of applying for a stipend. And so the stipends are very generous. And again, we tend to be very liberal with those. As long as the person says they need a stipend, we give a stipend. And so at that level, we would say, so we can give you $150, essentially a discount. We call it a stipend if you participate individually. And so it would be only $45, so it's like $10 a month. And then for the group, it would be for 4 months. Sorry, it's for 4 months, right? A prep month, 2 month effective training, and then reflections. Or $300 for the group, so it comes up to only about $100 and something. Again, if you divide it by the kids, it's like, could be depending on the group size, could be like $3 to $5 per kid. So the logic was that it's something that everybody can afford, but at the same time, we kind of signal value by imposing bigger numbers, but allow people to participate with lower numbers. And in the end, by the way, I didn't feel comfortable charging money, for example, from people from developing countries. So we have some schools from Ukraine that I just said, no, you will not be paying. I know for you, it's a lot of money. Likewise, we have some schools and some children from Africa. Again, for me, once I saw that they're serious, we sort of refused their payment. We said, that's okay, just focus on the quality. So, but at the same time, the numbers are here just to signal the value. Although now I'm having second thoughts and I'm thinking maybe we still should allow free participation, at least for those who need it, basically 100% stipend. Because as I said, in some countries, making the payment is so difficult that many people may not just endure the hassle of, making that small payment, and may drop out even before, they try the program. And so my hope is that by maybe reducing or removing the payments altogether, we will allow the people to enroll and start, and then when they like it, they will stay. If not, maybe we'll have some other mechanisms to detect problems early on and drop those people before they're placed on teams. So that's prices. Now let me go back to the online ads. So we haven't spent much money so far. As I said, in fact, I think I can literally just highlight the whole column and it will show me the total numbers. And I'm not sure how they duplicate. I think the way it works, yes. So you have to divide this number by 2 because it shows you the total campaign cost, but then it sort of repeats those numbers one more time for the same amount, where it basically shows how much it costs for each of the categories. And I think that's how it works. So I think you should divide it by about 2 in order to get the total spend. And so over this long time, we've been advertising it for, experimenting with this for about a year. In fact, a little bit longer. We have spent about $1,000 total. So it's a very small amount when it comes to the actual spendings. But the beauty is, as I said, we tested like 20 different ads, each with different audiences and types of groups that we show it to. And each time, as you see, they would be shown to about 30, 40,000 people. So you have a sizable enough sample to make some inferences. And so here's what I have to say about it. So you can look at the ads. If you have the file, there is a link at the end, and you can click on those links. It will open the actual ad. So let me open a few here so you just see what we did. So I'll just open a few, and then we'll look at them one by one. Maybe a few from the later periods. So we tried pictures, we tried text, we tried content, and we tried videos. And with videos, we tried short videos, we tried long videos, so all kinds of things. So let me show you a few examples here. So this was one of the first, apparently. Let me increase it, let me see if it would be. And I hope you are able to see it. So if it doesn't work, it was a strange ad. I have no idea why we placed it, but that's what it was. So here you have a picture and you have some description and you have a link, learn more. So we had a few of these with different pictures. So we had pictures like this. We had pictures of real people. So here's another one, just a few words and a few brief description, learn more. We tried, yeah, I guess that's several similar ones. So here it was a longer video. So it was basically an XCulture video. So this one was like 3 minutes. And so here you had a little description. Learning by doing, that was again a short video, and I'm not sure if there is a way to play this video. I hope you can. So here we tried to be a little funny and hoping that that would attract attention. Let me see what else we have here. So this one is aimed at high school graduates, basically. These videos were, you can buy software that makes them, I think it was like $50 a month, and you can make a couple per month within that price. So kind of experimented with that a little bit. So you can look at the videos separately. And so here is what Facebook gives you. It's a very small kind of selection of numbers that they give you when you place ad on Facebook. So obviously you have the campaign, but then you have a lot of information about the audience. So they give you some stats for the whole campaign, so the entire one, but then they break it down by age, by gender, and you can break it further down by country. In that case, the table becomes so gigantic that we decided not to bother you with those numbers. And then you have all kinds of what they call results. You can have a result where people just watch it if you want to just promote the brand. You can have a link that says learn more, and they click on it and it takes them to the website landing page. You can have a link like, for example, download some tutorial or schedule a meeting or request a callback. So we tried all of those kinds of things. And so here it shows you how many people were apparently shown the ad, like 80,000 in this case, who just saw it in their stream. But then reach, I'm not sure how they differentiate shows and reach. I suppose reach, that's when people actually looked at it. So not just scrolled quickly, but kind of paused and had a quick look. Then the total price, then there are some calculations, like for example, how much it costs for 10,000 people to be, the ad to be shown for 1,000 people. And as you see, depending on the demographics, it's anywhere between $1, or some audiences, it can be like 30 cents for 1,000 people, to all kinds of other numbers, like some of them may be a little bit more expensive. Then show frequency. So some ads are shown to same people multiple times, like this one on average was shown twice, 2.6 times to a person. But then again, there were people who would be showing it one time and some who would be showing more. And then you have all kinds of actions. Again, you can define what the action is. In our case, I was most interested in clicks. So how many times people clicked on the ad, and that's an interesting one. You can also look at, for example, clicks on the links to your website and things like that. So, but here you see some more real engagement. So you have costs per 100 people reach, all that kind of stuff, right? And so if you define your action as a click, you have here cost per click. So, every time a person clicks, it costs us about 2 cents. So it doesn't really cost us much. What I really like is statistics. So you have here all kinds of other, cost per share if people share it, and then links and, all kinds of stats. You can look at that. Outbound links, so those are the clicks where people click on your link and go to your basically page. So what I wanted to look at, click-through rate. So this is the percent of the people from this group who engaged with your ad by clicking on it and basically go onto your landing page. And so I like the statistics because, again, some countries may be more expensive, some countries may be less expensive, some people, so basically, the cost per click sometimes is not the best way to do it, because it can be very different, not because the ad is more effective or less effective, but because different countries just cost different money. And at the same time, we need to advertise in some countries because we need to have an international crowd. So even if the UK costs me 5 times as much as Kenya, I'm still going to do it in UK just because it's such an important country. But the percent of people who clicked on your ad, that tells you kind of basically how interesting it was. And so here, what you can see is that the difference is huge from ad to ad, from audience to audience. And overall, the numbers are relatively low. Like, for example, this one, and I didn't like it. I don't even know why we used it. Must have been one of the first ones. Let me show you which one it was one more time. But as you see, the number or percent of people who clicked on the ad, so whatever that was, what was this one? Yeah, that was this video with rock, scissors. So I'm not sure why we did it, but in any case, as you will see, so it's like less than 1% of the people engaged with the ad. So it was like, depending on the audience, it was, somewhere like up to 0.5%, and overall it was 0.3%. Now, this one was more successful. So here, almost 2% of the people engaged with it. And 2% still seems like a small number. I mean, it's only 2% who click on the link and go to your website. But at the same time, it's like almost 10 times as effective. And so here, all of a sudden, you see a much, much better result. Again, it's still a tiny percentage. But then again, how many of you have clicked on Facebook ads? Most of us just simply scroll through and never pay attention to them, right? So it seems like 1 in 50 actually didn't scroll through and did click on the link and did go to the website. And so when you look at, for example, cost per click, so here it cost us about 1 cent every time a person clicked on the ad and went to our website. Whereas here, where it was not effective, it was like 25 cents or even up to $1, depending on the audience, for the person to click on the ad. So here it gives us some interesting information that we can use to compare the ads relatively. And so as you see, some of them were more effective, although again, 1.6%, I'm not sure how effective that is, but from what I understand, these numbers tend to be in that range for everybody. I looked at some statistics for other people, at least those who share not their own numbers, but kind of do some marketing, trainings. And so they say that, yes, normally you get 1, 2, maybe 3% if you're lucky of people who actually click on the ad. So if you have a conversion rate of 1%, so 1% of those who've shown become customers, that's extremely good. So I don't know. So in our case, as I said, that the numbers were, I'm showing you what they are. So you judge how good or bad it is. What I really like is that the numbers were different for different ads and different audiences. And so what that means is that while overall, let's take a look at the overall average. On average, it was 1.5%, if I read it correctly, of the people who saw the ad, they clicked on the link and went to our landing page. So whatever that is, but there have been some audiences and there have been some campaigns where those numbers, depending on the populations, were like 6-7%. And I'm not sure how representative these are. It's like only one person from this group clicked, and so that represents this percentage. So I guess that's too small a sample, but there is still a substantial variation. So we see from like 0.1% to 2%, so like 20-time difference. So which tells me if I focus specifically on the ads and audiences where the percentage was higher, I can literally, increase my productivity essentially, tenfold. And so far, by the way, one important thing that I should have said right from the beginning, we've been solvent, or we've been, I guess profitable is the wrong word here, but we've been sustainable from the very beginning. So as I said, we spent on, for example, Facebook, a little over $1,000. Plus we spend a little extra money on making the ads, making those videos. I've been paying some people for help, like for example, Michael presenter here, so I do pay him a salary. So it does cost us something. But after we get some money from registrations, even though these are small numbers, even though we are not asking people, to pay if they can't, in the end, we did receive more money than we spent, or at least, close to that. I think in the end, we're actually losing a little bit, but more or less we're breaking even. So with all this experimentation, with all these ads that some of them were just simply, based on the results bad, we are still sort of breaking even, and we are still making enough money to keep testing these waters. So which tells me that if I, for example, from now on start focusing only on those audiences and only on those ads that are more effective, we can probably dramatically improve our return on investment. And so we still want to experiment. We still have about 20 different ads and approaches that we want to test, and I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But it seems like we have definitely an opportunity here to dramatically increase the cost-benefit ratio. So you have some of this. Likewise, you can look at another interesting thing was cost per click. Again, cost per person who went to your website. And again, as you see, for some ads, it was very effective. So for 1 cent, people would go to your ad. Others were very ineffective. So let me see, like here, like literally we had to pay $1 for each person who goes to the page. And so obviously going to the page does not equal becoming a paying customer. Like this one, it was like $10. Well, I think it was just one person. So, but yeah, we paid $10 for that person to go to the page, whatever ad that was and whatever campaign that was. So definitely it was not an effective one, and we shouldn't be using it in the future. So, but then again, so this is, when we look at, for example, cost per click, here we are like 5 steps removed from the actual conversion, right? So after the person goes to the page, again, we have those statistics too. Only a very small percent of them apply. In fact, if I remember correctly, and you can go to Google, if you go to Google Insights, we can, Google Analytics, sorry, we can look at the actual numbers for the website itself. And so you would have a page that looks like this. I don't want to bore you too much with that, but if any of the teams wanted to see it, we can actually show you that as well. Let me see if I have here, I think I need to switch account. But we can also see the numbers for how many people went to the page, where they came from, what they did. I guess that's still a different account. I think that's the one that I need. And then how many of them clicked on the apply button. And so the percent of people who click on the apply button, I think it's only like 2 or 3%. So of those who came to the website, it's only a very small number of people who actually then proceed and apply. So we can see that now we have 8 people on XCulture website. You can look on the geography. So we have several from the United States. We have from different countries. And so if we go to Academy, so since I'm greedy, we are using a Ukrainian guy who manages analytics for us. So some of this is in Ukrainian. So, but on XCulture Academy, we don't have anyone. We had a visitor 16 minutes ago, but at this time we don't have anyone. And so you can also look at all kinds of interesting statistics. You can look at behaviors, how people, what they did, how long they stayed. So you can have all those kinds of things. So like we had apparently 66 people. I assume that's today, or is it per week? I think it must be today, or maybe 7 days. So it seems like it's about 10 people a day who go to the website. But of those, only a very small percentage actually then apply. Then after they apply, again, we don't accept everyone. And then even those whom we accept, not all of them survive the pre-project training. So the kids have to go through 4 weeks of training. And then so we have quite a few who apply, but then do not survive. And we don't want to, as I said, we want to keep it small at this time and keep quality up. So in the end, we would have probably, how many do we show it to, just to give you kind of final numbers. So if you look at the shows, we had almost 2 million. Yeah, almost 2 million people have seen our ads for about $1,000. I didn't realize that. Of those, about 1 million engaged with the ad. Of those, if you look at the number of clicks who went to the page, where's action taken, I guess that's the one. So about 67,000 took some action. And let's look at the outbound link clicks. So of those, about 600 clicked on the links. Oh no, some 23,000 clicked on the links. I'm not sure if I'm adding this up correctly. Of those, so it seems like it's 20,000 or so actually did go to the website. Of those, only a few thousand actually applied. And of those, only a few hundred survived. And of those, only eventually we were, as I said, very selective. So we placed, can't remember the exact numbers, but it was about 100 total in the first semester. And that's including both professionals and kids. And it's a little bit smaller group this time, so we were even more selective. I'm paranoid about allowing people who are not ready to participate. So it's only like about 50 people this semester who are participating, so just because of those concerns. So the actual conversion is very, very small. But then again, if you have 100 people paying, let's say $45 on average, that does add up. And so you get a few $1,000s here and there. And so it's enough for us to continue these experiments. And I think I'm going to stop here, so I can go even deeper into those numbers, but let's see if you have any questions. So, Evgeny, do you want to say anything? You said you had some statistics on YouTube. We tried YouTube, but only with a couple of ads, didn't really spend too much time and money on it. But I'm not sure if you want to say a few words about YouTube while I'm reading this question.
Hello, everyone. Actually, we had two campaigns on YouTube. One was like about a video before someone views a video he or she wants to view, and the other one was to have texts when you Google something. You can see text on the right side of it. So it's mainly it were like tests. So we want to improve this, and we want to put some more money and to test some bigger part of our ads there as well in Google and YouTube. And yeah, that's it. If you have questions, please ask them. Yeah.
Okay. Yep. Thank you. A few more words again, something that you may find useful for your own experience, but. So we also communicated with many professionals, professional marketers, asking for help. And eventually we decided to do it in-house. So we have Evgeny, who is a marketing expert, perhaps is a strong word, but he knows a lot about marketing. He knows how these things work. And eventually I decided to work with him because he knows how the system works. So he knows the technical side. And even though at the time we started working together, he may have not had as much experience as some professional marketers, but here's what happened when I talked to the professional companies. I met with quite a few of them, including with several professors who teach marketing at my school and who have their own companies as well as work with other companies. They said that the thing is that when you hire professionals, they usually charge about like $75 per hour to $100 per hour, so it will cost us several $1,000s a month. In most cases, if they know the product, they can be very useful. Like, for example, if you would like to launch an online clothing store and you have a company that had launched like 10 of those, they will know very well what keywords work, what ads work, what audiences will be more receptive. So they can save you a lot of time and trouble on experimentation. But if you have a unique product like what we have, they all confirmed, and as I said, I've spoken with them, they said, no, the way it will work is we will literally be testing the waters together. So we will meet with you, you will explain to us what you're trying to do. And right there, I was a little scared because it would be like hours and hours of my time. But then they literally said, okay, and then we'll produce like a few dozen ads and we will try them with different audiences and different types of ads, and we will see what works, what doesn't. And that's when I was like, I don't know, I mean, if they want to experiment anyway, why cannot I, why can't I do it in-house? With Evgeny, so just save some money and better use that extra thousands of dollars on extra audience than basically pay someone to do what we can do ourselves. Because the technology is very simple, the mechanics is very simple. You have like 10 different types of ads. like you have leads, you have learn more, you have, video, you have, so, and then you can choose audiences. I mean, that's basically it. You can learn the mechanics of it within a day or two. So then what, happens is experimentation. And so that's where we thought we would do it ourselves. Now we want to try Google Ads. And so that's where we, again, kind of hesitant. Should we try professionals? Should we try to do it ourselves? And so maybe we'll even try a combination and see if professionals can perform better. But I'll talk about that in a few minutes. But yeah, let me go into the questions. And so here's a question from Harsh. Harsh Vadan, how exactly Facebook decides how much an ad costs? We don't know exactly how they do it, but it seems to be a model where they literally look at the demand for a specific group, and then they essentially give that group, some sort of a price tag. So when we place an ad, they give us only an estimate of how much it would cost, so we don't know the exact price, and we tell them how much we're willing to spend. So for example, we say, all right, try this ad with this audience and spend $10 a day. So show it for $10 a day. And they say that it will show, $10 will be enough to show it to about, let's say, 50,000 people or 10,000 people. And yeah, the ad runs. And so it's not exactly precisely $10 a day. So I don't know how exactly, the mechanics works behind the scenes. But it ends up being roughly $10 a day at roughly at the size of the audience that they predicted. The trick here is, and so we now have to be extremely, specific when we select the audience. Facebook always tries to cheat you almost. Like, for example, when I tried the first ads, I remember even before we started working with Evgeny, I would say, okay, show this ad to people globally, or I would select like 20 countries, like, like several European, several African, Latin America, the United States, Singapore, Hong Kong, Australia. So it's like 20 countries, and I would say show it to people ages 18 to 45, for example, and spend, I don't know, $20 a day. And so, and then I come like later and I see it spent $15, and it showed like 80% or 90% of the audience were male 18 years old in Nairobi, Kenya. And I look at those pictures and you can tell that that's not our audience. I mean, some people like definitely not the type of people who would be interested in international business education. And I'm like, whoa, wait a second. So let's exclude Kenya from this sample. Whew, I mean, I don't know why they selected it. Maybe that's the audience that nobody wants to show ads to. And they show it and they kind of proudly say, we showed it like to 500,000, Kenyan males, 18 years old. So you have a nice reach. And I'm like, oh, I don't care about that. So I would change the age. I would say, okay, let's go 23 years and older and exclude Kenya. And then give it another 5 hours, then come, and all of a sudden now it's, I don't know, like Cairo, Egypt, and it's now males 23 years old, and again, another like 20,000. So you almost have to play this game. And so now we always say, okay, like this narrow age group and this narrow specific, geography, because otherwise Facebook will try to maximize your reach and will show it to basically the audience that nobody wants. And so that's one trick. So, but yeah, I remember we had those problems. So, and then how they price it, I assume, as I said, if it's an audience that everybody wants to show to, they increase the price. If it's somebody that nobody's interested in, they just don't care. So aside from Facebook and YouTube, so Nicole is asking, yes, Nicole, so very good question. So there are several things we want to do or have started doing. So when it comes to Facebook first, and the same thing with YouTube, we want to try a few additional types of ads. At this time, all our ads have a link that says either learn more or go to our landing page. So basically, they all take you to the website essentially. And then on the website, you can choose to either enroll now, or you can ask for more materials, the handbook, XCulture Kids handbook, or you can schedule a webinar or a callback. And so we have quite a few people who ask for more materials, and then occasionally we have like maybe once a week somebody says, could you please call me, I want to talk to you. And so at this time, I literally just call myself, so the volume is small, and I want to know what people want to ask. When we go big time, maybe we'll hire some people to handle those calls. But we also would like to try 2 more ads or 2 more different specific types of ads on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. And that is one, take a test. And so here it could be take a test to see if your kid is ready to be accepted to a top college. And it could be like, we know what it takes to get to a top college. I've been on the selection committee many times. I know how those selections are made. And so we can sort of, assess if the kid, has, from grades to experience to resume to whatever, recommendations. And so the test results could be actually useful for the parents, for the kids to assess their chances of getting a scholarship, for example. But at the same time, we thought we would weave in, and that is important, experience. So, all those extracurricular projects. And then in the end, we can say, and there are like 10 different programs that you can participate in to build that part of your resume. And so you can spend that, time to build that part of the resume, and one of those programs could be XCulture. So sort of we kind of suggest that we can help you build your portfolio. And so the hope is that it will work. Another type of test we thought was also kind of to signal quality and selection. We could say, okay, there is this program for kids, XCulture Kids. Take a test to see if your kid would qualify. And again, the hope is that parents will be just curious if their kids are smart enough to qualify. They would take a test. During the test, they will sort of better understand what we're proposing here. If they do qualify, hopefully they will be proud of that and will be more interested to participate. If they don't qualify, again, we don't want them in the program in the first place if they don't qualify. So again, kind of saves us time on, on the application process. But at the same time, maybe that's when they will be like, oh, I've been rejected. I really want it now. So maybe they'll work hard and apply again next semester. And then the third type we wanted to try is download a tutorial. And again, there could be all kinds of tutorials, like for example, a tutorial how to get a scholarship to, let's say, an American university or a British university. So again, we have enough professors who know very well how the system works, and we started working on that. So we can provide a really, really useful guide on what it takes to get into a good school, get a stipend. And so as a result, so my hope was that people would be interested in this. And somewhere there we would mention, again, not lying. I mean, it's honestly, it matters. It matters if you have extracurricular sort of kind of achievements, if you have participated in programs like XCulture, and right there we can say, for example, you can try XCulture. In fact, we can be very transparent and see and find some other, MOOCs, massive online courses, open courses, or maybe some other programs. I'm sure there are some other useful things, and give them a full list, including XCulture. So we want to try that again, just haven't finished up that tutorial and haven't created the test, but hopefully we'll do it in the next week or so. So that's one thing. Then another thing that we wanted to test other than online, oh, I see Evgeny here changed a little bit the plan that I had. Do we have that short list of things that we wanted to do? Sorry, because yeah, I had, oh man. Evgeny, what else did we try to do? I had a list of like 7 items, but I see you expanded now into a full-blown market plan, and it's like 50 pages. I mean, it's going to be too much scrolling for me up and down. So Google was a big thing that we wanted to try. So with Facebook, you choose the type of audience that the ads are shown to. With Google, you show ads either in Google search or on websites that partner with Google, but you can do it in response to a search query. So people look for online programs for their kids. People look for summer camps. People look for ways to get into college, for example. And so that's where our ad pops up. And so here it allows you to target people not so much by demographics, but by their actual interest. So you can literally show it specifically to the people who are interested in something like what you have to promise. And at the same time, what Google also is beautiful for, or what I like about it, is that you can choose to pay only if they click on your ad and go to your page. So it may be much more expensive. So here you saw it on Facebook, it can be like only 1 cent per click if you choose the right audience and have a good ad. At Google, it can cost literally like up to $1 per click. But then again, if the person sees your ad and the person was looking for something like this, I'm willing to pay $1 for that person, even though it's like 100 times more expensive. So because at that point, it's much more likely that the person will become basically a paying customer. So we haven't really figured out Google yet, but started reading books, started talking to professionals, and so probably we'll start doing that, I guess, I don't know, if not this week, then next week. So that's, again, something that we wanted to try. Evgeny is also pushing me to do more about content marketing, so where you place kind of useful articles and stories and blog posts, and thereby sort of kind of build a community. I like that idea very much, but I know how time consuming it is. If you see my screen again, we actually have like a little journal of XCulture's blogs. If you go to XCulture Stories, so here I try to post, basically tell about what we're doing, and then sometimes it's about XCulture, but sometimes it's more about just useful things for people interested in international business. and I know how much time it takes. I mean, it literally takes several hours to produce a nice, post. And, where do you get that time? So I know I don't have that time. And the problem is, many professors and some students expressed interest in helping us with those stories. But every time what happens next is they kind of try and then they lose interest. It takes time. They have other obligations in life. I suppose we can pay for this, but then again, it will not come from heart if it's paid. And again, it's a type of topic that not many people know. I mean, it's not like you're writing about cars or cell phones. So you have to have someone really from your internal network who really knows what this stuff is. So I'm not even sure it would be easy to find someone to pay them for the content. And so I love the idea, but it's probably going to be much more expensive and much more time consuming than anyone can imagine. So another big problem again with content marketing is that you spend all the time, writing this stuff, posting, and it's useful stuff. Like, sometimes when we talk about education, I mean, that's my profession. I mean, I know what important things are. And, you spend half a day writing a really, really useful, piece of, information. And then you get like 5 lousy likes from your friends and that's it. And then you post a picture of a funny cat and you have like literally 10 million views. So sometimes it becomes a little discouraging. I've seen many professors, colleagues of mine, consultants that I'm connected with, who also like decide to do content marketing, and they vigorously write some blog posts and share their tips and do it for a while, and then like not seeing the results, give up like after a month or two. So I suppose if you do it long enough, you can build the audience, but it's a very, very time-consuming proposition. So anyway, that's where we are. Let me see if we have any other questions. Don't be afraid, as I said, to raise your hand and engage directly with us. So there is a question from Nicole, hired people to do sales pitches to teachers. Yes, so Nicole, we tried pretty much all countries. I mean, not all countries per se, but we tried all big countries. So we had people all around Europe, all around the United States, Latin America, Africa, Asia. It worked pretty well in a sense that we found some private schools that mainly cater to expatriate kids that charge obscene amounts of money for tuition. And so they saw XCulture as an opportunity to have a selling point. So they, if your kid goes to our school, they will do this thing. And so there was some success there, but it was mainly in developing countries, mainly at schools that work with expatriate kids. Then we also had an interesting situation. I got a phone call not so long ago from India, where they wanted to enroll a whole county. So they said, could you accommodate, it was like 50,000 kids or something like that, like a huge number. And so my heart was breaking. I had to say no, because we don't have enough kids in the other countries to team those up. So maybe sometime in the future. So it was not entirely, useless. But as I said, the discouraging part was that many schools, principals, teachers said, oh, I love it, but I can't. There is no easy way for me to incorporate it. And then another big challenge was that by hiring people, it's extremely demanding on me, like figuring out how to pay them. All the people, everybody has their own questions. And so it becomes so demanding, like literally when we did it for a semester a year ago, that was like, like an additional full-time job, regular meetings with them, going through the payroll, going through the contracts, going through the legal side, going through the training. It was so time demanding. And at the same time, the results were basically nothing. I mean, we did have a few enrollments, but it was extremely small. So that eventually I decided, no, it's too hard, too expensive, and the results are not quite there. So that's when we decided we'll just go through online. And when we go through people, it would be former participants basically introducing their friends. So that seems more managing. So otherwise, as I said, like Europeans, I love it, but then what do you mean we have to pay for it? I'm like, well, we need some resources to run it. Oh, no, education should be free. Why don't you apply for some, European Commission grant? And maybe that's what we should do, but I never quite, figured out how that system works, but that may be a way to go. So maybe, get some big fat grants and then, make it completely free, hire enough people to cater to every child. But again, didn't quite figure out how that might work. So anyway, that's what we know so far. If you have any questions, as I said, please type them now or raise your hand. But that's what we have to share so far. So Just to conclude, take a look at the numbers, see what we have done. Let us know what you think. Criticism is good. If you tell me what's wrong, it will save me from problems down the road. I'm not afraid to be embarrassed. I'm afraid to spend time on something that doesn't work. So if you find some obvious problems, let us know. If you see some things that you believe are have a huge potential, we just didn't do it right, and there is a way to do it better, especially let us know. Don't reinvent the bicycle. So don't tell me, as some people do in their reports, advertising Facebook. I mean, obviously we tried it. Likewise, as I said, we want to try Google Ads, Google AdWords. Likewise, we want to try ads of different types. As I said, download a tutorial, take a test. So we want to try those. So we thought about those. So instead of suggesting that we do it, maybe you can tell us how to do it right, or maybe you can give us some ideas for how to do it in a more effective way. So that I would be interested in. And most importantly, by the way, one important thing that I forgot to say is that if you have interesting ideas, I mean, if on the face they look promising, we will give you a budget to test it. I mean, if you want to test it yourself, I'll give you access to our accounts. I'll give you a budget to test it and test it. And if you show great results, I'm extremely interested in hiring you. So if we found people who can beat our results substantially, so basically if you can show that your performance will be substantially better and will generate enough revenue to hire you, I'll hire you right away. So if you literally can show us, let's say, for example, at this time, we're more or less breaking even. So what we spend, we get back, but we don't really make any money and spend some time on it. If you can show me how to get, after the spendings on the ads, how to get, let's say, extra $2,000 a month in revenue, I'll be happy to give that money to you and hire you, maybe split it in some way so that we have something, larger group means larger resources need. But if you can show me that you can do it well and better than us, I'll be the first one to stay in line and try to hire you. So you can see this as a career opportunity. At the very least, it can be a free way for you, or a way for you to test your skills for free so you can put on resume that you did it. So I will not test everything. So my experience shows that 90% of everything in life is crap. And I have no doubt that it will not be different with this crowd. So I've seen enough XCulture reports to know that 9 out of 10 of them are not useful. But I have no doubt that from, I think we've been chosen by 50 teams or something like that. I have no doubt that there will be at least 5 teams that will give us something really, really, really good. And of those 50 teams, that's what, like 300 people or so. I have no doubt that, again, 200 will be completely, will not help. Maybe another 100 will be so-so, but there will be at least 50, 60 people who will really, really, really know this stuff and teach us something. And as I said, those people, if you want to collaborate with us, if you want some budget to test it so you can put it on your resume, if you do it well and you want a job, I'm extremely, extremely interested in working with you. So you can see this as an opportunity to join our team on the marketing side. So very interested in your results. If you have any questions, feel free to send your emails with questions or call us. We'll be very happy to discuss it. All right. So, and I think, Evgeny, anything else you wanted to say?
Actually, I would like to add one specific thing on a question on a second one, I guess. There was a question about other social media, and we had a Instagram, someone appeared to help us, like volunteer, and we had like a few months of posting there, but that's like to have someone to post there to see if it helps us or not. So we didn't do this on ourselves.
Yeah, there are 2 platforms that probably could be very useful and we just never figured them out. One is Instagram. I think I do have an account on Instagram. We have an XCulture account, but I just always felt that it's too shallow. I mean, it's just a quick picture. I don't know, just never had personal respect for it. But at the same time, it's probably a mistake because I know Instagram is an extremely powerful tool. I just never quite figured this out. And another one is LinkedIn. I hear that LinkedIn is an extremely powerful, useful platform with a more kind of select audience, people who are more kind of, professional. But I just never, that one I really don't understand how it works. I mean, I do have an account. I do get thousand of requests for connection every month. I have no idea who those people are, probably my former students or something like that, I don't know. But because in our professional community, academics, we have the academy, like Academy of International Business, Academy of Management, we never really use LinkedIn for job search, we never really use LinkedIn for connecting with people, so I never had the time to spend and figure out how it works. So I kind of always see it as Facebook, but presumably for more professionals, but apparently it's different, it's powerful, it has a huge potential, but I just never figured out how it works. So if there are any people among you who would like to help us with our Instagram account or LinkedIn, I'm very open to collaboration. In the past, people have volunteered to help, but as Evgeny said, they would try, for a few days and then basically lose interest, or I don't know, just disappear. So I guess, so I'm not sure if we'll have time to do it this semester, but yes, we want to do it, but we also need help there. And I'm not sure what other social media we have. We have like Chinese and some Russian, I know, but I'm not sure if we want to go that far. I suppose we could, but, again, need help to figure them out, and need help with people identifying the promising venues and then building a strategy for them. That's something, again, we don't really know. All right, so let's stop here. I'm going to stop the recording as